Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a first impression on a brand new foundation that I believe has only been released on TooFaced.com and will be soon to be released at Sephora. Not sure when this video is going up. It may already be available, and if so, I will link it in the description bar. But I'm talking about the new foundation from Too Faced called Born This Way. And I actually got this deluxe size sample from Sephora when I placed an order recently. So this isn't the full size, but I'm very happy to have a deluxe size sample so that I can actually, try it out and see if I do want to buy it. It's a great way to try before you buy. And it came in this little container here, and I'm going to read what it says on the back so we know what the foundation is supposed to do. This oil-free foundation masterfully diffuses the line between makeup and skin. Coverage so undetectable and skin so naturally radiant, they'll think you were born this way. As you can see, there are a nice range of shades for every skin tone, and I can really appreciate that. 12 in total. The one I'm going to be using is in Sand. I have seen the packaging of the actual full-size foundation. Very nice glass bottle, pump. They did a really, really good job on the packaging. For this first impression, I am going to be priming my skin. I do this regardless of the foundation I'm using. I know for first impressions, some people prefer to just put the foundation directly on your skin, but I'm telling you, I will never wear a foundation without a primer. I mean, maybe 15 years down the road when it's like, oh yeah, like every foundation doesn't need a primer now or something, I don't know. But this is my thing. I like wearing primers, and I just find that every single foundation, long wearing or not, works better on my skin. So for my primers, I'm going to apply the Nivea Aftershave Balm and also the Photo Finish Primer Water from Smashbox. I've talked about the Nivea one before. I know it's extremely strange, but if you've watched my last few videos, you've seen why I use this as a primer. While that primer is kind of setting into my skin, I do want to point out, in case you're unaware, my skin type is normal to oily. I have been using a Retin-A cream every other night that is prescription grade, so that has kind of changed my skin type a little bit, whereas I used to be very oily. I do have no active acne, thank God, but I do have some discoloration and some post-acne marks or post-acne scars. And I do have a little bit of dryness right here. So weird and random, but I think it's just from being in the sun, and right here specifically I do have some dryness. So I'm wondering if it's going to like cling to those spots. And I usually would put a pore filler on, but some foundations I don't feel the need to do that, so I'm not going to use a pore filling primer today. But if I were to see large pores, it would be right here and maybe a little bit on my nose. So there are things that I definitely want to cover. Surprisingly, these dark marks, even though they're very flat and not super, super dark, they can be extremely hard to cover. So I always prefer a medium to full coverage foundation. It's what I like. So I am again anxious to see if this foundation is going to be that type for me or not. So I'm going to pump some on the back of my hand. Probably need like kind of a lot since it's such a little bottle. So here it is here. Think that's gonna match, hopefully. It seems like a typical liquid foundation, not too runny, not too moussey or thick, just kind of like normal liquid. Absolutely no scent to this foundation at all. And I'm going to be blending this in with my beauty blender. This is my favorite way to apply foundation. Okay, so far the coverage is pretty good. It does seem buildable. It isn't full coverage, like wow, totally covering up every single mark on my face. You can kind of see there. I know the lights can be deceiving, but the finish looks pretty nice. It's not super matte. I don't know if it's going to dry down to matte. So that is a pretty decent layer of foundation all over my face. I wasn't skimpy with it, but I also didn't like cake it on. And so far, I think it looks pretty good. It doesn't seem to have clung to any of this dryness right here, which I'm happy about. As I mentioned, it does look like a more satin finish rather than matte or luminous. I'm going to add a little bit more on these areas. Typically, the foundations that I've been using before trying this one, I also have a hard time covering this area, and I usually go in with a concealer or just leave it as is, because I think probably only I am like hyper aware of it and other people probably don't notice and or care. But I am going to try like another little pump and try to build it up and see how that works. Wow, that actually built up really nicely. Like, I'm surprised at how well that did at covering. Okay, so far, first impression, I am really liking this foundation. I think it looks super nice. Luckily, the color looks pretty good. So this foundation does retail for $39, which can be a little pricey, but comparing it to something like my Estee Lauder Double Wear or my Laura Mercier Silk Cream Foundation, that is right around what those foundations cost, so I don't think it's like a shockingly high price. And so I'm okay with it. If this works out well throughout the day and stays how it is now, I think that I will buy this foundation, but that's my first impression. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up my makeup, check back in, let you know how everything applied. Again, like I always start out with a primer, I will set this foundation because again, that's what I do for any foundation that I'm wearing with just a light powder. So I will point that out that that may help with the longevity as well as a setting spray because that's what I always do. So you're just gonna have to take that for what it is. I absolutely love primer, powder, setting spray. It makes my makeup last all day long, and I think that it's vital for any look that I'm going for. Alright, so I just finished the rest of my makeup, a little powder, bronzer, blush, a little bit of highlight, finished my eye makeup, you know, the works. I also sprayed my Urban Decay All Nighter setting spray. I do feel like I like this foundation. I got a little bit concerned after powdering, doing concealer and then powdering everything. I felt like, ooh, does this look a little cakey? And some of my bronzer kind of like looks a little muddy right here, but I don't know if that's how it's sitting on the foundation, or maybe I used too much of a heavy hand, or there's a lot of reasons that could happen. So I'm not going to say like, oh, this made my bronzer patchy or anything like that. It's not super noticeable, but looking in the mirror right here, it is like, that's a little not as smooth as I would like it to look. Even after powdering, I am noticing specifically on my forehead that it is definitely not matte. Like if you're seeing a sheen on my forehead, it is not from a highlight or anything. I even, like I said, powdered it down and used that setting spray, and it still looks a little bit luminous. I would say that the overall finish is a satin, but in certain areas, like especially my forehead, I feel like it's bordering on luminous, which is okay. I mean, I'm not like, I hate that. I actually might try to set it with another powder and see if I can get it to go down to matte. might be aware of that you might, if you want to look more matte, which I do, you might want to set it with a different kind of powder. So that's everything for this morning. I am going to go about my day. It's actually pretty early. I need to go to work, and I will check in hopefully 2 times until the end of the day, but at least once when I get home from work, and see how everything held up and what my impressions are. So I will see you guys very soon. Okay guys, so I'm back from work, and I wanted to check in with you about my feelings for this foundation, and I am still liking it very much. I will say that, I'm obviously looking in a mirror right here, that there is some shininess going on right here, down my nose, tip of my nose, right here, that I may, and a little bit on my forehead, that I may want to touch up, but it doesn't look bad. Like, it does not look like, wow, did you wash your face with a chicken wing? You know what I mean? I also like that it didn't really cause too much creasing around my smile lines. That is a big thing for me in foundation. Every foundation I have does it, no matter what primer I use, no matter what foundation, but this is very fine. I would give this, out of 10, I would give this foundation a 7.5, maybe an 8, probably an 8. Probably 7.5, because I don't think any foundation will be a 10 for me, but the only complaint I have is that I wish it was a little more mattifying and stayed more matte. It is extremely hot here in Florida, extremely humid, especially during the summer because of all the freaking rain. And so I'm not surprised, but it's also not something that I'm like happy about. One other thing too that I forgot to mention this morning is this foundation did not accentuate my pores whatsoever. I did not put a pore filling primer on, if you remember, and my pores look non-existent. I mean, they really do look great. So I am happy about that, and you should be too. At this point, I would say if you have normal to dry skin, that you would really like this foundation. If you have super duper oily, personally I don't think you're gonna like it unless you like looking dewy. That's the word I was looking for this morning. So at this point, 7.5. Still not sure if I would buy it. It's not like blowing my mind or anything. And I'm only comparing this to the foundations that I have, one of which is the L'Oreal Infallible, which I absolutely love. If you guys want to see a demo on this or a foundation routine, I would love to do one for you. This is such an inexpensive product for what you're getting. It's amazing. And also my Estee Lauder Double Wear, that's also like a holy grail foundation, very, very good. But I still like this. Like, I'm looking in the mirror and liking my skin. So how much more can I say, you know? So I will check in one more time before the end of the night, and I'll see you guys then. Hey guys, back for a final check-in. It is about 7:15 and I am about to go out to eat, but I figured this would probably be the last time that I'd want to sit down and talk to the camera. So here are my final thoughts. Since my last check-in, I don't think my opinion has changed. If you're thinking the foundation looks a little bit better, I did actually touch up with powder just before I started filming because I wanted to see if I did want to continue wearing this foundation, how it would hold up if I put powder on top of it. Now I use a translucent powder. I wasn't putting on like a powder foundation, so I don't know how that would perform, but just using a translucent powder, it did not make the foundation look extra cakey. It did not really disrupt anything. It still looks very good. That being said, even after powder, I still see a little bit of shininess. So I really think that that is just the finish of this foundation, and you're really gonna have to work hard if you really want this to stay like super matte. It's just not a super matte foundation. But we kind of knew that from the beginning, didn't we? As far as staying power, I feel like this foundation has stayed on really well. I don't notice any areas where it's like, wow, where'd it go? I do notice a little bit like on the tip of my nose that it's a lot less covered than it was when I initially applied it, and that's kind of typical for me, so I'm not shocked. And kind of a little bit right here, but nothing super noticeable, and that may also be the concealer I used this morning, so it's kind of hard with these things. Sometimes you just never know what the culprit was. If I were to score this foundation, I still feel like it would be a 7.5. And the question that I would ask myself is, would I purchase this foundation? And at this given time, I would say no. And again, it's not because it's a bad foundation. It's not because I'm looking at it thinking like, wow, this looks awful. I really hate it. I would never recommend this to anybody. No, zero of those things. I would recommend this to somebody, especially somebody who has dry to normal skin, or somebody who's oily and who likes a dewy finish. If you want to stay matte, this is not the foundation for you. And also, me saying I wouldn't buy this is based on, you know, think about how many foundations there are to choose from. Throw this one into the mix and say, would I buy it? And I'm comparing it to all the other foundations that I know, and a few of them that I really, really like the L'Oreal Infallible that I talked about earlier, and then also the Estee Lauder Double Wear. So because of those few things, I would not purchase this foundation, but again, I think it's a good one. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. I'm really glad I got to try this foundation out, and I definitely will finish this deluxe size sample. This is not something that I'm like, throw it away, I never want to see it again. Also keep in mind that if you want to try it out for yourself, you can always go to Sephora and ask them for a sample of the foundation. They will color match you, give you a sample. It should last you a couple days. You can try it out for yourself and decide for yourself whether you want to purchase it. Or if you want to purchase it just by watching this video alone, which I'm flattered, you can go ahead and do that, and then if you hate it, you can return it, and Sephora is very good about their return policy. So that wraps up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed my first impression. Hopefully it gave you some insight, and now you can decide whether you want to try it out or not. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It really helps my videos get out there so people can find me and hopefully subscribe. If you are actually not subscribed yet, I would love it if you did. I have a lot of fun videos coming up for you very soon. Also, if you are on social media, I am loving Instagram and Snapchat lately. Information for those links will be at the end of this video and then also in the description bar, so be sure to check down below. Thank you so much for your support once again, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye!